Hello, my friend, and welcome to the 598th episode of the Sales Podcast. I'm Wes Schaefer, the Sales Whisperer, your host. Today we have Alex Goliou. He is an interesting dude. Got a MIT background, Berkeley background, PhD in electrical engineering and computer science, and he became an entrepreneur. And we talk about removing friction in your buying process, and that's it sounds simple, it sounds obvious, but few people do it at all. Few people do it well. And so, we got into it. And I'm actually having him on the CRM Sushi podcast as soon as I finish this recording and push it out. He and I are hopping on another Zoom call. He's going to demo his software, so stay tuned for that. But his goal is growing, obviously, but he talks about the destination matters, but so does the journey. And so you can tell in the interview he's enjoying the journey. There are a lot of people out there grinding, they're miserable, and it's like, what's the purpose? Why are you doing what you're doing if it's such a grind, if you're so miserable? Because you're making everybody else miserable around you, including your customers. So be joyful. And but his solution, he's tapped into some things. He is seeing the need for instant gratification in a way through the service that he provides, offering instant connection with salespeople, with companies. And he's seeing that upwards of 60% of their prospects select the immediate video call option. So when people see your link, they're curious. When they're ready to buy, they're ready and willing to engage. So, I've always said in sales, we must meet the prospects where they are. And that's what he is doing. And that's what he's doing with the software. So, stay tuned to go through this. I've got some links towards the end for his website. You can do a trial, connect with him on LinkedIn, and you're in for a treat. All right. I've been talking more and more online through my own social media about the 12 Weeks to Peak program. It's free. I'm working on a journal that you can, a physical journal. I've been journaling, and I'm going through several of them, figuring out the ideal makeup of it, because part of it, I think I've decided, is going to be an 8.5 by 11 sheet, so it'll be a bigger, thinner journal. Right, I've got some hardback journals, some what the pseudo leather kind of stuff is, but those are nice, they're soft, they're pliable, they lay open on the desk. In this world of this digital world, this AI world, having something tangible in front of you, I think, is important. It helps you stay focused. In the Gorillas of Growth program, in the workbook, one of the first things I have you do is track your time in 15-minute increments for an entire week. I've got my own calendar on my Mac set every 15 minutes. It just gives me an audible, it's 9:30, it's 9:45, just to snap me out of any trance I might have fallen into on social media or anything else, right? I talked about stolen focus a couple of episodes ago, and there's billions of dollars at play, being deployed intentionally, trying to figure out how to capture and keep our attention. So you need to stack the odds in your favor to fight against them. So doing things like that, little reminders. Sometimes I'll even do it on my watch. I just set a 15-minute timer, and it just buzzes, and I'll just hit it again, repeat, and just to stay focused. So you need to stay focused, but like I said, in the program, I have you do that. In 12 Weeks to Peak, you have a spreadsheet with multiple tabs, one tab for every week. There's a starter sheet where you enter your starting numbers, and so it populates through the rest of the sheets, and then it keeps a cumulative total for the week and for the entire program. And it's free to do, okay? When I make the journal, it won't be free, but it won't be expensive, and it'll run for the 12 weeks. And you can just lay it in front of you and just keep ticking off as you get the stuff done. I made a video today talking about how I have you, A, I have you do a video every day, but B, I have you write one recommendation on LinkedIn every single day. So find somebody you know, somebody you've done business with, and give them a recommendation. Just make their day a little brighter by being a nice human being. And you'll be surprised how many you get back. But there's multiple reasons for that. You know, the old adage, givers gain. Putting a smile on someone else's face is a great way to start your day. You're going to use social media intentionally, and people will reciprocate. You'll get some back, which builds up your profile. All right. So go do that. So join now, right? 12weekstopeak.com. Like I said, it's free. It won't be easy. It's simple. Everything's laid out. It's simple, but it's not easy. But there is no failure. You win, you complete the things, or you learn. All right. So go sign up, 12weekstopeak.com, and then come back and listen to this episode with Alex. Alex Golu, are you in El Cerrito? Is that right?
I am in El Cerrito, California. Yes. Very few people know that where it is, but it's north of Berkeley, IDEMA suburbs of Berkeley.
Very nice. Well, I'm in Southern California, so welcome to the Sales Podcast. How the heck are you?
Things are good. Things are good. It's the end of the year. It's like the last stretch before things start slowing down, but no sign of that yet.
So I didn't tell you this before we hit record, but my son just got back from Istanbul.
Okay. So I actually was just in Istanbul. Maybe we were there together. The joke I was telling people is that over the Thanksgiving break, I wasn't going to be having turkey, but we'll go to Turkey and then have some kebab over there.
So you're from Turkey originally, right?
Yes, I'm originally from Istanbul, Turkey. I'm also of Armenian descent. Went to a German high school, so that makes English my fourth language.
Well, that I knew you just from studying double E and computer science. I knew you were 5 times smarter than me. Now I think you're 10 times smarter than me. Well, I struggled a lot with electrical engineering in college and computer science. So it was, but at the Air Force Academy, we had to take all of it, right? Civil engineering, mechanical engineering, just physics, every calculus. But I don't know, electrical engineering and computers in 88, 89, I mean, they did not compute for me.
Well, those were different type of computers. I missed the punch cards, but we still had to do a lot of basic stuff.
Yeah. So MIT and then Berkeley. Goodness gracious. That's a nice pedigree.
But along the way, I got the entrepreneurship bug because between my master's and PhD, when I was working, the company I was working at went public. So we got a taste of that. So the goal was after we finished our PhD, in fact, Farokh, who's my co-founder at 11 Site now, he was a PhD student at Cal as well. So somehow our mind was set. We wanted to do our own startup. So after PhD, during the PhD, we were working on automated cars and highways. We knew that wasn't going to be real anytime soon. This is like 97, 98. So we did our first startup in SMS applications for wireless handsets. This was the .com era. Netscape is new. Motorola StarTech is most advanced phone. So that company we sold to a competitor. Subsequently, we saw RFID. In today's language, we built IoT companies in the cloud. And then this time we are doing 11 Site.
And have you stayed? It's always your same partner. Have y'all gone through like college all the way on this journey?
So the first startup we
years?
did together. The first startup we did together. The second startup we did separate. He built an RFID chip that was location capable. I use off-the-shelf RFID to develop some supply chain solutions for yard management. He sold his company to Maxim Integrated. My company was acquired by Excel KKR in a private equity roll-up in 2020 for $50 million. In fact, Rafael Granato, who is our VP of marketing, was my VP of marketing at Pink, my second company.
When you're starting a company, so you've had 2 now, and you're on your third, 2
Yes.
exits, and you're on your third. Are you trying to solve like major problems that tilt the universe, or like one nagging thing and it's like, okay, this could be a few $1 million and could be fun, and so let's go solve that one little nagging problem?
So there are multiple parts to that question. So clearly it all depends. If you want to get venture funding, you need to be able to articulate a problem that's worth $1 billion or so if solved, because you're going to grab a percentage of that. And if you're going to go raise 10 million, then you need to build 100 million company in $1 billion market, right? So either way, you're trying to find a problem that's a good business problem to solve, which you can solve profitably. Whether you're going to make $1 million or $100 million, you still have to solve that problem profitably. And then it needs to be a good problem for a startup, right? So for example, iPhone could not have come from a startup. You needed significant infrastructure like Apple to build a device like that. But then, the next app on the App Store, any startup can build that. Mm-hmm. So it needs to be a good startup idea, small company idea. And then last but not least, it should be a good startup business idea for a given team who has some sort of an unfair advantage against anybody else who is going to have the same idea. Because if you see a problem, if I see a problem that's worth solving, I basically assume that others have seen it too. There are 8 billion people in this world. So others have seen the problem, others have thought of it. Either you know the technology, the solution better than anybody else, you know the market better than anybody else, you already know who the customers are going to be, you already have your pilot customers. This was a problem you yourself have felt. That's why you understand the problem really well. So if you pass all of those tests, then you have a good startup business idea that can be profitable, that you will be able to succeed with compared to other people. So when it comes to us, the first time around, we wanted to do a startup, and the goal was to see it through without screwing it up. So our goal was not to be $1 billion company. It was like doing a startup and bring it to the end. And indeed, we were able to sell it in a way that we made some money, our investors made some money. Mm-hmm. The second time we were doing a startup, the goal was to make money for all of our investors, which we managed to be able to do. This time, we really want to make a lot of money for all of our investors, but also for ourselves, right? Because the first couple times we did this, we did it with venture funding. It was good to have a nice salary to start with, but at the end, our ownership was in single-digit percentages. Mm-hmm. So this time we have put our money where our mouth is. We are actually part of the investment team in the company, and the goal is to have double-digit ownership when the company exits.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've seen some of these recent videos, but some people mock them. Others say it's a great recruiting tool. Like they show this young woman, oh, here's my day in the life of Facebook as a product manager, right? And like she wakes up late and, runs by Starbucks and does some yoga and, has a couple of Zoom meetings, goes to the fancy cafeteria and gets fancy food for everybody, and then a couple more meetings, and out for drinks and a wonderful dinner with all of her coworkers, and then they overlay that with like an oil field worker, just grinding away. Like how important is culture? Do you actively try to build a culture, or is it just be yourself? Like if you're Steve Jobs, you're just driven. It's like, I'm an asshole, but I'm going to do big things. If you want to do big things, come on. Or, hey, what do you need? You need yoga? We'll do yoga. I mean, how do you?
So the way we'll look at it at 11 side is that your time is yours to manage. We don't care which 60 hours of the week you work. Right. So, I mean, if you're going to do a startup, you can't expect that you are not going to work. You have to be driven. you need to be committed, because it's all about getting there before anybody else. As I said, there are 8 billion people who have seen this problem before. So some of them are doing the startup, competing with you, which is a good thing, because otherwise nobody else saw the problem. That means maybe there is no problem. So it is important to have a culture. It's very important, because if you don't build the culture yourself, somebody else will build it for you. The culture will manifest. In fact, these days, where we don't have an office, we are all distributed around the globe, in Turkey, in Germany, in the East Coast, West Coast, even here in the West Coast, we are all in a like 2-hour radius. So it's all about conversations online. So we try to have company on sites, no longer off sites, it's on site, everybody comes on, or we travel to Turkey, or the team in India travels to here. So we need to do a lot of things to make sure that we create that team culture.
Yeah, my son lives in San Francisco, but one of the teams he works with is in Barcelona.
Yeah.
And they all work from home, but close to downtown, but not at the office. So they flew him out for meetings and just to get to know them. And then he went to an international school, so he traveled all over the world. So he had a friend in Kosovo, and so he went down to Albania, then he went up to Kosovo, then over to Istanbul. I'm like, where the hell are you, man? I'm looking at him, I'm finding my friends, right?
He's a digital nomad.
I'm like, how are you in Istanbul, man? What? But yeah, and and he didn't take any vacation. He just kept working, got his work done, and they didn't care. Yeah. It was actually easier for him because he was in the same time zone or very close for most of his
in Spain. Yes.
3 weeks. Yeah, at least with the Barcelona team, right? He was so close to them time wise, so he didn't miss a beat. So in thinking about culture, right? So you are a startup, say, hey, look, our goal is to exit, and make millions, and you come in, you get in early, and blah blah blah, you work hard, you'll be set for life. Is that good enough, like to bring in like somebody really good that's just a mercenary and like, hey, I will grind, but I want to get paid? Or do you need somebody that like sees the vision and the mission statement and and has these higher order goals and ideals for the company?
I mean, early on, it needs to be the latter. People who understand, who believe in who think the vision is correct, who believe in the mission, who basically are trying to make a difference, right? And in time, obviously, you also need those mercenaries who are very good at what they do. But in general, if you find people who are very good at what they do, who believe in your mission, the chances of success has gone up like significantly. Yeah. So it's important to have a team that trusts each other, that understands the vision, that agrees and sees that this is the correct vision.
Mm-hmm. So
because your company, that missionary may get a 20% higher salary at some other place and they're going to be gone.
Right. So your company now, it's 11site.com, right?
Yes. So at 11site, so I was telling you that at Farokh, we did a SMS company, an IoT company. This time around, we saw video as the communication means of the future. We knew of Zoom, we knew of FaceTime and WhatsApp. So one of them is scheduled meetings, the other is friends are talking to each other. And we knew, this was even before the pandemic when we started, that we could help businesses bring themselves closer to their customers, right? If you are a B2B company, you want your team to be in your customers' offices. If you are a B2C company, you want your showroom to be in the customer's living room. We said, okay, can we execute to that vision and create a company that does that? And video obviously had to be the main crux of it. And today what we have done is exactly that, because we also looked at the changes in the industry. Couple things we observed is we all hate interacting with AI chatbots, scheduling meetings and all of that. Because if we want to buy something, we do our homework, we can find pretty much all the information we need online. But there are always some questions that remain, and especially if we're going to buy something that's more than $1,000, for legitimacy and trust, we want to talk to a real person, right? So that's our experience, and we cannot get to the business. The other thing we know is that the information about a company is not limited to their website anymore. It's on G2, it's on Capterra, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Their prospects need to come in from all of those places. We also know that friction at the top of the funnel is not good, right? On a 30-day sales cycle, if you schedule a meeting with somebody in 5 to 10 days from now, you are guaranteed to lose that person. They'll either buy from a competitor or they're not going to buy. So we said, okay, given all of these problems, how do we solve this? What we have done is we have reduced the digital communication identity of a person, product, or location to a URL. So our sales line, for example, is vcall.link/11sales. We can have it as 11site.com/sales. My e-line, we call it e-line, is vcall.link/AlexKolller. You type that anywhere in a browser, you will be calling me. So as that URL, I can put it in my email signature, I can put it on LinkedIn, it can be on a Facebook ad, it could be on Google My Business, or it could be the call to action of a marketing campaign, right? Now, the prospect has the ability to call me with a single click. They don't need to make an appointment. They don't need to download anything. In fact, what our customers see is that if they give a prospect the option of scheduling a meeting or a live call, over 60% want a live video call, right? And if you look at in the industry, everybody agrees that a lead is worth like 10 times more in the first 5 minutes than any time thereafter. So that's basically what we have done, is that digital communication identity you can embed anywhere. So that helps your prospects to reach you. But then for the business, we provide intelligent call routing algorithms. We provide HubSpot integration. The salesperson who answers the call will be given a call script. They're going to be given call intelligence. Any notes they take will flow into a CRM in such a way that based on the questions that they have asked that they can get answered, the CRM can kick off workflows. Mm-hmm. So that's basically what we have done. Is it's almost the best pieces of a Zoom WhatsApp on one side, call centers on the other, and sales enablement tools all in one, just for the online video inbound call platform to accelerate lead conversion and to increase sales, improve customer satisfaction.
Right. Yeah, it's funny you say friction at the top of the funnel is no good, but friction at any point in the funnel is no good. And it seems like people are always somewhere along the line, they make it hard. Like, make it easy for your people to find you and give you their money. Why do we make it so hard?
I mean, it's definitely, clearly you need to serve your customer anyway along the line, make their life as easy as possible. But we also recognize that if there is going to be an RFI and an RFP and 5 more conference calls before anything is decided, you don't need to jump into that first call right away. Yep. But if it's a 30-day sales cycle, you better do that. Otherwise, you're going to lose the customer.
Mm-hmm. You said something earlier on, people like, we hate chatting with AI bots, but now the whole world is losing their mind over this chat, GBT?
Yes. So, I mean, clearly in 10 years, 20 years, those AI chatbots will get there, right? So in the 60s, people thought, sorry about that, computers will be the ultimate chess players and win every game in the next year. Years came by and computers couldn't get there. But today, they finally managed to get there. So they are like grandmasters. So right. AI chatbots are going to ultimately get there. And then those tools that generate artificial text or artificial paintings, who knows, maybe in 40 years, they are going to be as good as anybody else in terms of cranking those things out, but we are not there yet.
Yeah.
It's almost like when I was a PhD student, automated cars, automated highways. It will happen. It's now looks more likely than it did in the 90s, but is it ready for prime time today? Not quite yet. You still
Yeah.
need a human being to close that sale.
Yeah, I've got a copywriting course and I've got a group going through it right now. And, people are asking me, why even do this, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, look, go use the tool.
Yeah.
Tell it to write something for you so you're not staring at a blank screen.
Right.
But then get in there and give it some life.
Yeah.
Because it's just not going to be quite as good. Oh, I just need the volume. I need the SEO. I need to be found. I'm like, Google and the others, I mean, they're just as smart and they're way ahead of us. They've already for years been able to look at content, see if it's been spun, see if bots have been writing it. Professors, they, even in high school now, they're doing searches for plagiarism. I mean, there's a lot of info out there. And I think just in general, like people, I don't know if you saw the whole blow up in the last couple of weeks, this guy called the Liver King. Have you heard of him?
No. Let's Google that.
So he runs around, no shirt, got a big beard, and he's all muscle. And, he says basically that he got that way by just eating raw organs. Right. And he sells all these supplements, made from raw organs. And you'll see him out there, some wild hunt.
Good. If you believe that, actually, I have a bridge somewhere that I want to sell.
Well, so it just got revealed that he takes $12,000 a month of human growth hormone, takes injections 3 times a day. But, they were saying he was making like $100 million a year. And you know what? So this thing blew up, and people with a brain, they're like, okay, you don't get like that naturally. But he was still on social media as it was blowing up, posting, Instagram, Twitter, like nothing had happened. Right. And so, but people fall for whatever, but being able to say, hey, this is me, right? You're getting a human. Because I've always made the joke. It's like, well, my VA is writing a blog post that your VA is going to go read. It's like, when can humans start connecting with one another and have a conversation? Like, why do we want to get rid of that?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly it. Is that there is all this information out there. People are smart. Most people are. They do their homework. They decide what they want, but at the end, we all need human contact, right? I mean, those AI chatbots or abstract people's lives on Facebook and Instagram that have nothing to do with reality, that's not how you can conduct business, right? If you're going to make a buying decision, you're going to spend more than $1,000. You want to know who is behind that product, or $10,000. And when you are selling, hey, you want to talk to your customer, understand their problem. It's not some generic ICP template that you have been given that you are answering questions without understanding what your customer's problem is. You want to make that human connection. You want to understand your customer's problem and solve it for them. And that's how you're going to succeed as a salesperson. And that's essentially what we are banking on, is that people who place calls, but that's exactly what we are seeing, are the ones who are serious about buying and have real questions. And those sales reps who are actually willing and able and to answer those calls are in fact the better salespeople, who realize that they have to work for a living and do some work and create some value as salespeople, not basically be just some order takers who are just watching some statistics online that, oh, customers are signing up by themselves. I mean, even if you are believing in product-led growth, that, oh, the customer will come sign up on my website, the product leads, you still need salespeople in the conversation to close the deal.
Yeah, we're trying to remove the humans, and I did a blog post right after COVID kicked in, or at least the assholes in government kicked in and locked us down. But I digress. The book was called Deep Survival,
Mm-hmm.
and he talked about, it was who lives, who dies, and why. And one of the things that he looked at was like when people get lost in the woods, like young children who had no reason to survive, right? They're lost, they're uneducated, but they would live for days, right? They would hunker down, get in a little safe space under the roots of a tree or something, and then they'd be found. And then some well-trained person, a lot of experience, with gear, like they die in 24 hours. And they're like, what the hell's going on? And they, came up with the idea that basically, people get distracted, they get frustrated, then they become frightened, they work themselves up. But in the end, he gathered that the thought of never being seen again is what would cause them to despair, right? And lose all hope. And that's what just would shut them down. And so, like, if we have that so deeply ingrained in us, but I think it was Seth Godin wrote a book or a blog post, said something to the effect like marketers ruin everything. So some new tool comes out, so they're going to run around and tell the world, you can make $1 million, never write anything again. This thing will build your website, write your landing pages, create your email scripts, write your newsletters, on and on. You just use this and it's all free. And I saw this one guy today on Reddit said, I'm split testing this. I think I can fire my 125,000 pound per year writing team after he experimented with this chat GBT over the weekend. So he thinks 48 hours of playing with a brand new tool is going to replace $125,000 of writers. Why are we so insane?
I mean, GPT-3 will eventually work, but as I said, computers ultimately won the chess games, right?
Yeah.
But we get ahead of ourselves sometimes. Automated cars, they'll come, but are they ready? Right? Not yet. Not yet before prime time. There is some talk of it. Can we expect the computers sell and buy on our behalf? Who knows? Maybe someday a consumer AI chatbot will talk to a sales guy AI chatbot. They are going to negotiate, and there will be some commerce that takes place.
Yeah.
But we are not there yet. Salespeople still need to sell. As humans, we still need to do our homework before we buy something. And that's what it's all about, being human, right? So we need to find some fulfillment in what we do.
Yeah. And I love your point too, that, the salesperson that at least understands this and knows what's going on, can use this technology to just accelerate and accentuate what they're doing. But it's kind of like, I don't know, computer science, right? You learn how to code, even though the computers are going to do it all. But if somebody's got to create the next new thing, or at least supervise and program the machines, right?
Yeah.
So if you didn't learn the code, if you didn't learn arithmetic, if you didn't learn how to write, you can't do the next thing.
Yeah.
So it was interesting. You said 60% of prospects selected the options for an immediate video call, right?
I mean, we are in the age of instant gratification, right? So you have done the homework. You want to buy something now. You want to buy that car. Like, I'll give you an example. Last year around December, to date, we had been 1099 contractors. We needed a payroll company. we reached out to ADP, TriNet, and Paychex. TriNet came to us fast enough so that we could actually implement it in December and be on payroll in January. By the time ADP and Paychex came to us, it was too late. We had our handshake. Had TriNet not come to us, we might have never implemented it. The same thing, let's say you sell some board compliance software. The CEO has just been yelled at in the last board meeting that he is not running his board meetings effectively. He's going to search for something and he wants to buy it and implement it today. If you don't talk to him today, in 2 weeks, there will be another fire in the company. And that's what he will be trying to solve. And he will forget that the board yelled at him, right? So we need instant service, instant interaction, because we live in an increasingly faster world. It's not that I need to get a mail order catalog. I'm going to study my catalog. Then I'm going to actually go do some shopping. And then I'm going to decide. I go on Google, I figure out the 3 products. I go to G2 Capterra. I see the reviews. I go onto YouTube, LinkedIn, watch some videos, read a couple LinkedIn blogs. Okay, I know that these 2-3 companies make sense for me. Now I want to talk to them. Do they want to talk to me? If they don't want to talk to me, then I'm going to go do something else. You hit mute.
Oh, the dog was barking. I think that's where sometimes people make a mistake. Salespeople, I call it in the 7 deadly sins of selling. One of them is the Stepford salesperson, right? Like the Stepford wives, like being identical, treating every prospect exactly the same. And it's like, yeah, you may have a complex sale and high ticket, and it may typically take a lot of calls, a lot of meetings, a lot of demos. But sometimes when you deal with the decision maker, they can make a big decision immediately if you give them the option.
Yeah. So, I mean, in fact, that's exactly why we are focused on high velocity sales, right? If the decision is in 30 to 60 days, you nail that first meeting, you're going to close the deal. If this is a 9-month sales cycle, sure, no friction and customer service at any stage of the sale is valuable. But on that 30-day sales cycle, if you waste time, you lose the deal.
Right.
And then obviously the customer also needs to be worth more than $1,000 or so, because on a $17 t-shirt, I don't want to talk to the vendor doesn't want to talk to me.
Right.
And,
yeah. And every step, it's got to be smooth.
And I mean, to your earlier point, sure, AI chatbots, computers, automation, it's all going to help. But we are still not on that space shift of, what was that movie called? WALL-E? Have you seen it? It's like humans are in the spaceship. Everything gets catered to them. They don't need to do anything because there was some disaster on the world. And then, so the movie WALL-E. Yeah, so we can expect everything to be done for us, but we are nowhere close to that.
Yeah,
and I don't think we want to we want to live on that spaceship as bubbles either.
Yeah. So when did you start your current company?
So this company, the first thinking started in 2016. And we knew that the goal was conduct business online, bring businesses and customers closer together. In 2019, we were thinking, late 2019, people aren't quite ready to conduct business online, because everybody was saying, we need the human interaction. We need to be in the same room. And then 2020 March, all of a sudden, everybody was conducting business online. To your point, the pandemic showed us that, look, technology is ready for us to further accelerate. I mean, I've taken so many flights off, get on a plane in the afternoon from Oakland, fly to Chicago O'Hare or Midway, to have a 1 hour meeting the next day and fly back. 36 hours burned for that 1 hour meeting. I no longer do that. I do this type of meeting. Now, of course, there is value in going to a conference where you can in one day talk to 10 different customers, some prospects, and so forth. But so in March, all of a sudden, when this stuff took off, our business took off with that.
It's interesting though, because you talk about building the culture by meeting in person with your coworkers, your staff, but now we're moving towards not needing to meet in person to make really big sales. I mean, can we still deepen a relationship with a customer? Do you meet them later, or is it just like, hey, make this work, as long as it works, I'll keep paying, everybody's happy, no need to meet?
So you were earlier asking me about startup questions. So recently I was chatting with some VCs, and they said they would never ever have an in-person meeting for a first meeting. Right? The first meeting,
yes.
Online. Okay. But then they also said that they would also never invest in a company if they are going to write a 10 million check. They want to be in the room with that prospect, with that particular company. So it all depends on the check size, right? I have some 50, 60 investors on my cap table. Most of them I haven't even been in the same country with, because they are writing 50 to 250K checks.
Yeah.
Right. If I'm selling a product, and if it's a $2,000, $3,000 product, I probably don't need to see them in person. But if this is a car, 50K car, then chances are, yes, they are going to come to the dealership and there will be some human touch. So it all depends on what you want to accomplish on that first meeting, right? Because that's essentially what we have done in our product. Is, as a salesperson, when a call comes in on a line, you get told what questions to ask, but also what your meeting goal is. You are a product-led growth company. Maybe your goal is to convince the caller to sign up for that free trial. Other things will just kick off from there. Maybe it's a little bit more expensive. You understand what the customer's needs are, where they heard about you, budget, timeline, and you say, look, let me schedule a meeting with you with an account executive who can give you exactly a demo like you would like to see. Hey, if this guy is really serious, you could live transfer the call to that account executive.
Right.
So it all depends. Again, people know their own business. They know their sales cycle. They know the decision processes of their customers. So what they need to do is think of it as the customer. What would they like to see as a customer in a frictionless way? And then deliver that value, because what we are also seeing is that if you take that call instantly, you are in fact saving yourself time and money. Because if the customer schedules a meeting with you, the customer also expects a PowerPoint presentation with their logo on it. If you don't show up with that, they are going to be disappointed in you. Whereas if you take that call extemporaneously, clearly you didn't have a chance to prepare. It's your opportunity to ask any questions that you want off that customer. Which means that in that 15 minutes, you're going to save yourself 2 hours of prep time for a meeting where there is only a 60-70% probability that the prospect will show up.
Right.
So in 15 minutes, you save yourself 2 hours, and what would have been 10 days on your sales cycle, you also reduce that down to 15 minutes.
Yep. I've sold technology, Infusionsoft, HubSpot, exclusively. I've been doing that. It's going back to 2008. And I told people, like, I probably met 2% of my clients ever. I was doing, back then it was like WebEx and whatever tool, Skype. We would do video, but I didn't meet them. And usually if I did meet them, it was just because we were at a conference at the same time and just hey, let's meet and have a beer, finally say hello to one another. So, I mean, this has been valid. And, those weren't necessarily huge sales, but for a small business, when they're looking at a couple $1,000s up front, $300 a month, plus hours and hours and months of their time and energy to get these things up and running, maybe convert over from something else. It was a big commitment. It's probably easier to sell, a $50 million business, $100,000 solution than selling a $100,000 entrepreneur, a $3,000 solution. It's just, to them, it's just a big deal.
I mean, no, it's basically, you are talking about different businesses, right? You can make $1 million with 1 million customers that pay you $1, 100,000 customers that pay you $10, 10,000 that pay you 10,000, or you can basically have one customer that's giving you $1 million check. Those are all different types of businesses. For that $1 million account, that's an elephant. You can actually fly to the customer to lend them. But for that amoeba that's just giving you $1, you can't even know who they are.
Yeah, for sure. So where do you see this thing headed? So you've been in this for 6 years now, right? Going on 7. Did you have like a goal and a timeline? Or was it, let's just get as big as we can and do an exit when it's appropriate?
So, I mean, you need to actually be in tune with where the market is. So effectively, 11 sites started in 2020 when people realized, hey, we can conduct business online. Right? So we had done some work before that helped us. And our goal, this being our third company, is to get it as large as possible. And to be able to do that, we need to add value to our customers. That's what we are focused on. We are our first customer. If you come to our website, you will be able to call our sales line. If you want, you call them and you can ask them, hey, I heard Alex on Waze's podcast. I want to talk to Alex. They will be able to transfer the call to me. So we are our first customer. We are eliminating all the friction for our customers. We are serving them. But it's also true that we are operating in a larger ecosystem. Who knows? Maybe we'll go public, having reached 100 million ARR. Maybe when we are at 15, 20 million revenues, somebody will make an offer we can't refuse. But when you are running a company, it should be all about excelling with your customers and creating value to them.
Yeah. So you didn't have like a drop dead date. Hey, 10 years from today, I'll have $1 billion company. It's just, let's just get after it.
That's actually a good question. So I did maybe mention this earlier, is that when we built our first customer, our first startup, we didn't say, oh, we're going to become billionaires. We said, we're going to see this through without screwing it up. And we managed to make some money in the process. Second time was making money for all shareholders. We did that. This time, it's like we want to make a lot more money for all the shareholders, including ourselves.
Yep.
And then you go to work and you work as hard as possible. Because if the goal is just to make money, there are other ways of making money that may be easier. But if the goal is to create value in this world, enjoy what you are doing, and make money in the same time, doing a startup, running a business is in fact for you.
Yeah, but some people, they'll do their vision boards, right? It's like, I'm going to have a red Ferrari in 3 years and a 10,000 square foot home on the beach in 7 years. So did you say, I want this much revenue?
That's not me. No, the revenue targets you have to set. Getting a Ferrari, not so much. Right. So you have to enjoy at a startup what you are doing for what you are doing. I mean, as an undergrad at MIT, I've seen a lot of students who were miserable because they were at MIT to go to med school, to make money, to basically have that cachet with their degree. And then there were the rest of us who were more like nerds or geeks, and we enjoyed what we were doing. Sure, it was a lot of hard work, but we knew where we were. It was not a stepping stone. So the destination matters, but it's a long journey. So you have to actually enjoy the journey as well.
Yeah. All right. I think that's a good place to end it. So your website, it's so the number 11, right?
Yes.
11site.com.
Yeah. SIGHT. So the company was one site, two people talking to each other. But the moment we wrote down that with 11, then we read it as 11 site. So that's stuck. So we are 11 site. Come to the website. If you go to the pricing page, or if you interact with the text chat at the bottom, we'll give you a video call option. Call us. Come talk to me. And if you sign up, there is a free trial for 2 weeks. And if you sign up after that, if you tell us that you have seen us on Wes Schaeffer's show, we'll give you an extra 10% off.
Yeah, and your pricing, I mean, it's super affordable. This isn't some $1,000 software. So
yeah, I mean, most of our customers, the first deal they're closed, they already have positive ROI with our solution.
So you mentioned a little bit like $1,000 or more. So an ideal company, they can be kind of small, but as long as they have a higher ticket item or service that they sell, like could an HVAC company, they're going to sell a $3,000 or $5,000 or $10,000 AC unit. Would that be good for them?
Yes. I mean, so today the website is more focused on B2B SaaS companies, but sure, we also have a lot of B2C companies who are our customers. Again, the commonality is there needs to be enough margin for you to have that 15-minute video conversation with your customer.
Yeah.
Right. If you have that, and if it's a reasonably short sales cycle, then it applies anywhere universally.
Sure.
Right. We have automotive companies, we have home retail, we have home improvement, B2B SaaS. The commonality is relatively short sales cycle and enough margin to warrant that 15-minute call.
I know how irritated I get when, you call anywhere. Hi, your call is very important to us. Please stay on the line. Please pay attention closely as our menu has changed. It's like that has been the stock answer for like 20 years. Like, are y'all changing your menu every single day? Or maybe I'm getting lied to, right? Press 1 for English. Okay, press 1 for sales, 2 for support. And then you're not listening, right? You got to hit 0 and go back and listen to the whole thing again. So the idea of just hitting click and there's somebody like, that really just now hit me like, okay, yeah, this is cool. Because it can work for anything. There's so many places I call, you can't reach them. It's like, can I just, I saw this guy, he had a screenshot of his phone and it was just zeros all the way across his iPhone. He's like, representative, like get me some, I want to speak to a human. And these people, it's like, look, I've traveled the world. My son's traveled the world. I've got people overseas that work for me. God bless them. But a guy is using a Filipino outsourced call center, and I could not understand the woman. I literally had made her repeat every single thing she said. And I didn't want to get mad at her. It's not her fault. She's got a job. But these people are trying to save money. So finally, I understood what the call was about. I said, text me the info. Oh, so they're pushing for email. Fine. Here's my email. I hadn't even chat. We were heading out on vacation. We did a little trip to the mountains over the weekend. And so it's probably in my spam because anybody like that probably has a bad IP address. So I'll go check my spam because I was curious what the guy was doing because he's kind of in my field. So, kind of secret shopping, although it's not secret because they called me. But then I immediately blocked the phone number. I'm like, yeah, you can email me because I can opt out of that. I can block you. Now I blocked your phone number. So, he may have saved a few dollars on that call by outsourcing it overseas. But I'm like, again, we want to speak to a human. And it's not that she's not human, but if I can't understand her, we're not bonding, we're not connecting, we're not building that human relationship. And it's all because this guy wants to just save a nickel.
Yeah. And I mean, in a video conversation, this becomes a lot easier to bond with the person, to make a connection.
Yeah.
And yes, it's also true that you can't just be anywhere and in your pajamas when you get on a video call. That's again why that there needs to be enough margin in your product so that you do put on like I actually put on my uniform, then I don't need to worry about what my dress code needs to be. It's my 11-side t-shirt. And I have a reasonably acceptable background. Any call, I can do it like this. Or you can blur it, or you can put up some professional background.
Right.
And you are in business. You are open for business.
Yeah. I saw this guy, it was a funny meme, but he built a green screen, like a portable on a frame. So he put it on his body.
Yes.
Like with arms going out. So it was a green screen. But then he'd see like, where can he go? Right. So he hops on a Zoom call. He's got the laptop like on a mount on a chest rig in front of him. So you can see him. Then he's riding a bicycle. He's on a treadmill, but he's got a green screen. So it looks, put whatever artificial background you want. And it's like, somebody's done that for real just to see if they can get away with it.
Oh, but by now we have the green screen and software. So if we want, we can actually change our background.
Oh, sure.
Although occasionally our head gets chopped, but that's a difference.
Yeah. Like they're all pretty good, but like Zoom, it's a little too like the edges of your hair, your face, gets kind of washed out. But I mean, everybody knows, so it's okay. But if you got a messy background, it's probably better to have an artificial background because then people get distracted from the clutter.
Yeah, but I mean, it's also a new decorum. We get used to the culture because it used to be eye contact meant that we look each other into the eye. But now I know that you are looking at me on your screen and I'm looking at you on my screen. By now we know where we respectively are on the screen. We are making eye contact, even though the images are not lined up with each other.
Because I got two screens, right? And I've got my finger, right? I got my camera here, but you're right.
I could look here, but I'm not looking at you anymore.
Exactly. And I got these mounting arms. I love my desk. I love the setup, but this arm starts to swing, and I've tried tightening it. I got hex wrenches. I'm cranking this. So I got to pull the screen really close, but the benefit is you are closer to me. So it feels a little better. Right. But I'm not literally looking at you. I got to look at the camera to make it feel like I am looking at you. It's crazy world. I'm sure somebody's going to come out with I do know they've got mounts that come down and can go like in the middle of your screen. So if you're typing and taking notes, it looks like you're looking right at them. Probably should get that. What do you think?
I don't know. I think our brains have learned that they are looking at me because there is one place where you are on my screen. So if I were to start doing that, then know that I'm not looking at my screen.
Yeah. But then the challenge is the video needs to stay as a window that stays on top.
Yeah.
Because if I drag the Zoom screen over, because I'm taking notes as a blog post as we're talking. So that's why I can just publish this so quick. I'm not doing an exact translation, just got an outline of notes and the bullet points. And, but as soon as I start typing, then the Zoom screen goes to the background.
Yeah.
So now I'm 100% not seeing you.
Yeah.
So.
No, I mean, that's why I had you actually on this side of my screen, so that when I had to Google the Liver King, that's where my browser is.
I'm sure Oculus or whatever, right? The AI stuff is. My son that travels, he's legally blind. He's a computer science major, but he's legally blind. And it's the craziest thing watching him work because he's mastered all of the accessibility tools, on the Mac, and he's using keystrokes and the touchpad. And he's zooming in, zooming around, and I almost get car sick watching him because it's literally zoom in, zoom out, and he'll pull his laptop like right up to his face. Oh yeah, guy, he'll zoom back out and he works. So we were just talking. He was up here for the weekend, and that the VR headsets are going to be huge for people with vision disorder. My grandmother or his grandmother, my mother-in-law. So it runs through my wife's side of the family. Her dad was legally blind. She's legally blind. He's legally blind. But like you throw him a football and he'll catch it. So he can see things, right? But he goes to restaurants and fast food, he pulls his phone out, takes a picture of the menu, then looks at it. Yeah. But the Oculus, those kind of things, we got a big world. Big things are coming in technology. I hope they don't all rise up and kill us all, right? That's not going to happen. That's all just in the movies, right?
Exactly.
Okay, good. I mean, because you're that smart dude, so I'm counting on you to know these answers.
Yeah. And then, so the thing is, there are so many bugs that come in that for all of that stuff to work, it's so many years away that.
Whew. All right, good. So Alex, Aleks. So we got to make sure we get that right.
Yes.
Galu,
yes.
all the way from See, I was thinking at first, I had to look it up. I was thinking you were down in because there's Cerrito down here in Southern California.
Yeah.
So you tricked me for a second. I had to look it up though.
Cerrito. We are a single town, as I said, suburbs of Berkeley.
Yep. I saw that are you still teaching?
Occasionally I teach. I do teach at UC Berkeley. I do teach at Northeastern, primarily entrepreneurship, product management, minimum viable product type of courses. That's sort of me going back and setting things up that I don't do a fourth startup, but then change seats.
Yep. Cool. All right. Well, I'm linking out to 11site.com. Thanks for carving out some time and enlightening us all. It's good catching up with you.
Thanks, Wes.
Right.
Nice talking to you.
Told you were in for a treat, right? For legitimacy and trust, we want to talk to a person. And I've mentioned this a bunch of times through these 600 episodes I'm coming up on, about how the role of the salesperson has changed. The salesperson is still needed. People were saying 20, 25 years ago, oh, the internet, e-commerce is going to kill sales, or the role of a salesperson. But we just flipped the script. Back in the day, the salespeople were the keeper of knowledge. A prospect had to come to us to get information. Now prospects are overwhelmed. And so they want to talk with somebody that they trust. Knowing and liking is fine. They must trust us. That's number one. And that's number one. That's like 98%, right? Knowing is 1, liking is 1%. 98%, they got to trust you. And so people still want to engage and have those final little questions and fears addressed. So, it's a cool app that he's created. Like I said, as soon as I hit publish on this, I'm having him on the CRM Sushi podcast. So look for those. I'll be linking to that in the show notes. So you can see the best of all worlds. You get his insight, his vision, his approach, and then you can see the actual tool. All right. And I know you joined 12 Weeks to Peak, right? 12weekstopeak.com. Get you some. Thanks for listening. I'll go sell something.